Coming to you from Farmer Dave's Kitchen here in Drake, Massachusetts, I'm Stacy.
I'm Denise.
And we're here to help you
prepare your share.
What else can you do with all those delicious veggies? How about baby food? First, an introduction is in order. Jane is here, and she is going to be going through the cooking of all these nutritious vegetables grown at Farmer Dave's and making them into baby food.
Yes.
So I see we have a big batch of apples here.
We do.
Is that going to be the base for the baby food?
Apples are a great base because they're nice and sweet, and they're also super soft, so they're very easy to turn into baby food. If you notice, you can mix them with almost anything. Spinach, kale, broccoli are three of my favorite, and it is a great way to get some veggies into my baby's diets instead of just using fruit. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna peel this. I personally like a hand peeler. You can use a spiral one, you can use whatever means you wanna get the skin off. Once you have the skin off, go ahead and just dice it into chunks. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy. That's all I do, okay?
So you're not doing them too small?
Not too small, and they really don't have to be that uniform. You're gonna heat them up, you're gonna soften them down, so your knife skills do not have to be restaurant style. I do have a bunch that are already cut. We're gonna go ahead and add those to that.
So do you cook this like applesauce? So you just add like a splash of water?
Exactly, just like applesauce, you want to add a little bit of water because you want to get that steaming action, but you don't want to add too much water because apples have a lot of water content, so it'll actually make it almost too watery if you add too much. So for me, a couple of tablespoons is all I use.
Okay, so we'll get this on the stove
Perfect.
going. And then I have a question. So if you're combining the apples with the other vegetables, you know how they say you have to reintroduce vegetables to children a lot until their palates adjust to the vegetables.
Correct.
So you could almost make a baby food with the apples kind of masking like the strong flavor of broccoli, let's say, because broccoli is really potent. And then as the babies are getting older, you can back off on the apple.
Correct.
So they get more of a taste of the broccoli, and that might kind of feed into liking the vegetable.
Exactly, because
right?
you don't want them to just be used to apples, because then they won't eat anything else. So I try to make sure there's a 50-50 blend between the two. Sometimes I actually make the items separate, and as they're getting more used to it, I mix them that day. It's whatever is easiest for you.
It's kind of tricky, actually.
Yeah,
that's
you want to get as many vegetables into those little ones as possible.
All right, so once the apple is softened, that's going.
And we have that working right now, correct.
So now we're going to add spinach.
Yes. So this is an easy one that I like, and they actually really like the flavor of the spinach. So you want to take your spinach leaf, really simple, rib it. You want to take that tough little portion out of it, and then go ahead and make sure you have it washed nicely.
Okay, you know what? You did that well. Let me try and see if I can do that.
Oh. I do a lot of it.
I usually. All right, you just kind of like you're doing kale or Swiss chard or anything like that. So then you just have the leaf.
You just
don't have
the leaf.
The chewy part.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then you want to go ahead and wash it, spin it dry. So we have a bowl already done. We're going to go ahead and put this in a pot as well with just a little bit of water. Spinach takes no time at all to steam down. It's a couple of minutes. You really just need to get some heat on it. And remember, we're going to mix this with apple, so it doesn't take long at all.
All right. So I know you're using pots for everything.
Yes, I am.
Can you microwave?
Of course you can microwave.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do to get your veggies and fruit soft. If you want to microwave, if you want to steam, or if you want to roast. I've done all three methods, and it's completely easy.
Okay, cool. So we'll get this in a pot going. And then I think the next item is going to be the squash.
Correct.
Right?
So butternut squash and sweet potatoes are done very similar. So that's kind of why we're doing them together. Go ahead and take your butternut, cut it in half. Just make sure you're careful of your fingers. I roast it. The reason why I roast my butternut is because it actually makes the butternut sweeter. You can steam it if you want to buy it or get it from your farmer, get it from us, and it's already cut and cubed. By all means, that is absolutely fine. But I go ahead and steam it in the.
Yep, so just cut in half like that.
Yep, perfect.
And then we will get the...
Scoop your seeds out. Obviously, those are no...
flying seeds. Oh, here, you want this?
I would love a sweet potato at the same time.
Potato.
So sweet potato, pretty much the same thing. We're going to go ahead and we're actually just going to cut this in half. Once again, be careful of your fingers.
All right, I'm sending seeds flying everywhere.
That's not a problem.
So if I hit you with one...
All right, my sweet potato is cut in half. I like to make sure that when I'm doing a bunch, I try to get the same size. That way they're roasted at the same length of time. So you don't have a huge one and a small one. You good over there? Mine's done.
You got the easy one? I'm the one making the mess. All right, so
there we go. You have a cookie sheet. I line it with tin foil. Spray a little cooking spray if you don't have that, little olive oil. You don't want to season this with salt and pepper like you would if you were eating it. There's no need for that. You want to keep your baby's food as natural and as simple as possible. And then same thing with the sweet potato, face down. The reason why you cook it face down in the oven is that it actually kind of steams from the bottom up, and it's an easier way to roast it. So.
Okay. Now 350.
350. I'll cook it at 350, 375, even 400. It all depends on the day and how much time I have. But I usually do 350 because with 2 children, it's very easy for me to get distracted. And there's so many times where if you're not paying attention, it's hard to overcook it, but you can burn it. And that's what you don't want to do. So for me, a lower temperature is the safer bet.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get this in the oven.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Just gonna do that.
Perfect.
And we'll get that going. So then I also see one other question. We have other fruits.
Berries, yes.
So the berries, these are berries from last season that were actually in the freezer. So they're nice and sweet and everything. So you mix that with the apple as well?
So apple is, like I said, a great base for vegetables, but it's also a great base for other fruit. And if you've ever cooked down some blueberries, 2 things. One, it takes a ton of blueberries to make baby food, so your apples really help bulk that up. And if you feed them straight blueberries, we all know what happens with that. So we want to get a nice variety into their diet for many reasons. So when I'm making the apples, I make a big batch of apples, and then I section off certain bowls of it or pots of it, and then steam into that blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. Those are 3 great different flavors to add to the apples to give it a little bit more variety.
Now, do you have to worry about the seeds and the skins? Particularly, I'm thinking the blueberries, when you blend it, the skins will probably blend right in, but raspberries have a lot of seeds.
So with the little ones, I actually strain out the raspberry seeds.
Okay.
So that's something at this stage and how old they are and what they're eating. But with your blueberries and your strawberries, I blend them right in because that can actually be blended right in. As they get older, you'll actually want to introduce things that have more texture, and that's just naturally
and more bulk.
So then it's completely up to you as to where you feel your child's stage and the food eating process is. So if it's really early on, smoother is better. Don't risk anything until they get used to it. And then as they get older, you can get a little lazy and keep those seeds in there.
We'll keep the seeds in there. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm looking forward to tasting these because they're sounding really, really good. Okay, so we have the sweet potato and the butternut in the oven.
Correct.
We're gonna let those cook, and then as soon as we can handle them, we're going to scoop them out and show you how to put all this together. So
and by
just
then the
give us-
apples and spinach will be done as
and
well.
the spinach will be done. So
and then we'll show you how to do it.
give us a few minutes and we'll be right back.
Perfect.
And now we're back, and everything should be cooked.
Perfect. Let's check on those apples, if you don't mind. All right.
Nope.
No, perfect. All right, so this was full of apples. You can see how much it reduces down right there. You want to cook them till they're fork tender. See, my fork pretty much just goes right through them. If I had all day, I would actually just use the forks to blend them, but we have technology. So we're gonna go ahead and actually mix these. You can use whatever means you want. If you have a blender, go ahead, scoop that into a blender. I personally love this lovely little gadget, a hand mixer. You want to prepare enough that it covers the bottom, so that it's not splattering everywhere. So we're gonna just take a couple seconds and mix this.
So basically have enough in the bowl
Thank
so
you.
it comes up to the top of the actual blender portion of it, so that when you go to do it, you don't have apple redecorating the kitchen.
All right, this is pretty much done. So if you want to take a look at that, see how smooth that is? Right there. And if your babies are a little bit older and you want to leave it a little chunkier once they get old enough that they're starting to go through the chewing motion, absolutely fine. So our apple is pretty much done. So as you can see, it's nice and smooth. As your babies get a little bit older, you can leave it chunkier. Once they start to really want to chew on things and they're eating a little bit more textured food, that's absolutely fine. So now I'm going to go ahead and take some of this and actually put it into some containers to freeze. I like to keep out 1 or 2 days worth of food at a time, but I also like to make sure I have plenty in advance so that I'm not making baby food every single day. As much as I love making it, it's a lot of work at the end of the day between
Life
the babies and the food. Exactly, that is the best way to put it. So I like this size container because I have 2 children. So one of these pretty much split throughout the day is all I need. If you want, instead of a bigger container, I always suggest go smaller because you don't want to have it sitting in the fridge for too many days. I like the little containers that you get from baby food, actually. They're great sizes. That's why they sell them that way. They're perfect sizes. I keep these and then I refill them and refreeze them. So it is whatever means you want to go ahead and freeze those or store them in your fridge.
So you actually answered my question. I'm like, this is kind of a make-ahead thing then.
Correct.
So you're making ahead your base. Do you make ahead your other ingredients as well?
I do. Sometimes I'll make just the apple base if that's all I have time for and then freeze that. And then when I have time to do broccoli or spinach, I'll make that and then make the ratio that I want at that time. Right now my freezer is hysterical. It probably has about 40 of these little containers, which is less than a month's worth of food at the rate they're going through. So right now we're going to show you how I'm going to make the apple spinach combination. So we've already steamed down a big pot of spinach. Stacey, do you mind?
Over the spinach.
Perfect. All right.
Okay, this is cool enough.
So, we'll tuck that off to the side, just to show you that this is steamed reduced spinach. That's all it is. It doesn't look too attractive that way, but once we get it in with the apples, it looks very nice. This pot was over full of spinach, so you see how little it comes down to when it's reduced. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pour some of the apple into it. Pretty much making myself a 50-50 mixture is kind of what I would like. I'm going to tuck that off. Perfect. And then we're going to go ahead and now just blend the spinach into it. Super easy.
And again, make sure that your volume is above
the blender pretty much, so it's not flying. Because once you deal with spinach, it is green. No matter how little spinach you use, it is bright green, and you do not want this on your cabinet.
It's pretty.
Isn't it?
I love spinach and I love apples, so I really can't wait to taste this one.
I know, I taste everything I make for them, I taste, because if you don't like it, they won't like it. So that's a good rule of thumb.
That went down really fast.
Look how quickly that was. Baby food, homemade spinach, and your children will love it. I know, taste it. Yeah.
But look at this. It's so smooth.
And it is a gorgeous green.
No, actually, I won't taste it now. I'll wait until we're.
We'll do all the samples at the end. So perfect.
But that is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's easy. That was the apple and that was the spinach. You would do the same thing if you had broccoli or kale. Kale takes a little bit longer to cook, but just as good. So
that sounds really, really good. Okay, now we're on to
sweet potatoes and butternut.
I'm going to move this.
Yeah, just tuck that off to the side.
Now.
Perfect.
Have 2
Thank
pots.
you. So what we're going to do is, now that we have the butternut and the sweet potatoes done to fork tender, I'm going to put them straight back into another pot. The reason why I use a pot is it has higher sides, and for me, if I mix it in a bowl, bowls are kind of funny shapes, and with this type of blender, it will splatter a lot more. So you could scoop this into a bowl, but then I put it in a pot, and it's one less thing to have to go ahead and clean. So my sweet potato, I'm going to do sweet potatoes, and Stacey's going to do the butternut. And you just go ahead and see how easy that is. If it's cooked properly, it slides right out.
Wow.
And a couple of times with the sweet potatoes, like I was talking about earlier, is if it's at too high of a temperature, you can actually burn this part of the sweet potato. If that happens, you haven't wasted the whole thing. Just go ahead and take a spoon and shave that off. You can taste it yourself and you can realize that it just is a little almost bitter and funky because you burned that top layer. Your babies don't want to eat that, but everything underneath that burnt layer is perfectly edible.
Which is probably great to have that if you're making roasted sweet potatoes for an adult, but the babies may not appreciate that as much.
And that's it. Like when I'm roasting vegetables for myself, I like that little brown, like potatoes. I want to have some color on it, but you want to keep it as simple as possible when they're really young. All right, so I have mine done. She took the one that took a little bit longer. Sorry, Stacey.
That and it's a little hot. So I'm trying not to take my finger, you know.
I have no feeling in my hands, so.
My fingerprints.
So now we have the sweet potatoes, okay? I am going to, it's just a little bit of spinach on this. I'm not too worried about mixing it in there. They're gonna eat the spinach at some other point. So the same thing, we wanna blend this one down, okay? Now, your sweet potato is going to be a little bit firmer, so you're actually gonna need to add a little bit of water. Same thing with the butternut, and depending on how old your child is, you wanna add more or less. So when they were 4, 5, 6 months old, I actually would add a decent amount of water, and now that they're 8 months old, I add less because I want them to have more structure to their food. So,
okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and blend this.
Start blending it and let me know when you want the water.
I'll take the water now if you don't mind.
Nope.
Go ahead, yeah.
Tell me when.
Good. Okay. Thank you so much. There we go. Super easy. I think I actually will take maybe a
little
hint
bit
more water, please.
Sure, no problem.
Perfect. Perfect. And one way that I figured out different flavors is I actually went to the supermarket and I snooped on other brands. So I looked at what people have spent years and a ton of money figuring out is a good combination.
What a good combination
And then you
is.
copy it.
Sneaky.
All right. So our sweet potato is pretty much done.
Okay.
I've left it a little bit.
Oh,
You have a
look at
spoon
that.
if you want
I
to
have a spoon.
show that. And I'll blend this and you can take a look at that. Perfect.
It's probably
Add a
gonna be
little bit of
about
water.
the same amount of water, right?
Exactly. A little less.
So I'll do that.
Butternut has a little bit higher water content to begin with.
Okay. So that's how smooth. And like she said, this has a little bit of texture to it, but not a lot. And they are a little older, so you can make this even smoother.
I'll make this one smoother to show. And butternut and sweet potatoes are two great starters. Actually, if you look at your stage 1 baby food, or if you do any research online, those are two of the most common. Green beans is another one. They're really good for their digestive systems, not too much fiber. So they're great starters. And it's also, they're bigger vegetables, so you can just cook a couple, and it's really an easy one to make a lot.
That's really interesting because I wouldn't thought of that about green beans.
Green beans, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, see, that's
so we're pretty, exactly. And you can keep blending this to get it a little bit smoother, but it's pretty set with that. So there you go. You can see that. Nice little butternut puree for your little ones.
That looks delicious. I can't wait to taste all this. So why don't we, so here we have our apple. That's the apple mix.
Correct.
Then we have
Our
the
spinach, yep.
spinach.
Perfect.
So we have plain apple. We have butternut. We have sweet potato, and then we have spinach and apple.
And you saw how easy that was. All it takes is the time to cook it, and you can be doing other things at the same time.
Now, if you're wondering about taste, we have a couple little volunteers that are here.
And it's not us.
We're going to feed them, but I might try some too.
Of course.
So hold on, and we're going to bring them on, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to get honest opinions.
Exactly.
Really honest opinions on these. So we'll be right back. And now we have our special little guests, our little taste testers are here.
And here's John, and here's Elizabeth. She says hi. Yep, she's very excited to be here. So we have, you want to try something, buddy? Yeah? Yeah, you do? What do you want to try? You want to try apples? All right, why don't we I'll grab apples for Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you want to try some food? I think the cameras are making her shy. How is that? Yum. And now the sweet potatoes.
Once they get a taste, then they go
realize.
crazy.
Yeah. So you can see how simple it is, and they love it. It's easy. Make a ton, put it in your freezer, and then you're feeding these little guys healthy food all year round.
John is just looking around.
Oh yeah, he will eat for days. Right, buddy? Hi.
And you also have to realize we have a million lights and a million cameras, so it's just like things to look at.
There we go. I think sweet potatoes are favorites.
Is that good?
Yeah.
And what about mixing them?
Yeah, you can mix away. Feel free. All right.
Sweet potato and spinach, maybe?
Spinach. Ooh, and sweet potato.
That might be a nice little...
Nice big.
Now we have some science experiments going on over here. There we go. All right.
Whoa, that was a big spoon.
How's that,
Perfect.
John? Good? All right, as you can see,
He's happy.
super easy to make. Baby approved.
Baby approved.
So make your own baby food.
There you go.
Thanks for watching.